Hey guys, how are you? How are you doing? I hope you're all doing very fine wherever you are. And my name is Ahadi. We come here, it's our small village, it's our small online village. We come here to basically chat about African culture, African heritage, and how we're living out our culture today in the modern day world, especially now that there's this whole aspect of globalization and this idea that we need to constantly work towards becoming um, a global village. Now they're saying we're in globalization 4.0. 4.0 is that we're in the digital space. Whatever you do, you have to be connected to the web. So I was like, okay, fine, fine. You know what? We can adjust, we can adapt, we can evolve, right? I was like, but it doesn't mean I have to give up on who I am, right? Right? Come on, let's talk about this. So I was like, let me have my own small online village. And we talk about village stuff. Here we talk about purely village stuff, African village stuff, tribes, traditions, culture, word, name it. So karibuni sana, you girl over here, I'm a Pwani girl. Mduru Maduru, Mwatangari. What is your clan? What is your clan? Tell me what it means. But anyway, jokes aside, guys, we do have a fire topic today. I did ask this question, and this question is in response to a segment that was aired by Al Jazeera. And it was a beautiful segment because, the difficult conversations need to be had today. And it was mainly about repatriation of African artifacts. And so the conversation goes deeper into, should African artifacts be actually returned to Africa? In the 21st century, we're still asking this question. And I was like, yeah, okay. It is fine. It is fine. No, I don't let our feelings. We'll not bring our feelings, we will be mature. We will be quote unquote civilized, as per the way they say it, and we will roll with it, and we will come and we will have meaningful conversations that actually build us and help us to take the conversation forward rather than just being overly bitter. So, I asked this same question. I had, you go. I thought first of all I could just do live streams, but then I changed my mind. I was like, I'm going to record this and then post it as a video. So, yep. But I had asked this question on Twitter, and I posted and I asked, should African artifacts in Europe and America be returned home? And Simon Java Okello, first, let me give Simon Java Okello his flowers because he hosts a wonderful room on Clubhouse. And if you're on Clubhouse, please be sure to join him. Every day, he has dedicated every day. My God, if I can have that dedication, I'll be fine. I'm a joke, but anywho. Someone dedicates every day to talk about. He picks one African proverb from any country, from many countries in Africa, and then we come and disintegrate and talk about it and impart wisdom on each other. It's really like like the African therapy. These days we pay so much money to go for therapy, but this is like legit like the proper African therapy, like in those days. Where you sit down with elders, you sit down with each other, and you talk about real deep issues about life, and you educate each other. And so, Simon, you're doing great work, and I try my best to always be there to support the brother. Plus, he's Kenyan as well, so shout out to you, my Luo brother. If you ever get to watch this. But let me read the response. So the question was, should African artifacts in Europe and America be returned? And he said, yes, every single one of them, along with the revenue from all the years they were exhibited. And I was like, hey, hey, this is how we say in Africa that you've spoken like a man with 10 heads because of the amount of wisdom. Because I think even in the whole repatriation conversation, we've not really had a chance to bring the aspect of, oh, let's acknowledge that you all did not just build careers out of this. Like, you have immensely profited from what was stolen. Some artifacts were legit stolen during the colonial times. And I'm going to play this video that was posted by Al Jazeera on their news channel on YouTube. And really, like, you should go, I'll leave a link in the description box. You guys should go and watch the whole video, and then you come and comment, and also you let me know what your thoughts are. But I thought it was really interesting that the very question of should African artifacts be returned to Africa? You mean they're African? Okay, if they're African, you mean that they're owned by Africans? Okay. But then why are we having a conversation as to whether they should be returned there or not? Like, if you say that you're just going to use basic logic to try and tackle the conversation, just basic logic, even without like digging deeper, I think it's profound that like, if it's African art, surely it belongs to Africans. Surely the home is Africa. That's where it belongs. As an African, I find that question to be very condescending. I'm going to just be honest, without being like, oh, I'm bringing my feelings into this whole, I'm being emotional and immature. It's just like, it doesn't make sense. Because if the reverse was true, and let's take for example, one of the well-known kingdoms and monarchies is the British monarchy. Okay, so they do have treasures there, and imagine like if they were stolen and then someone went and did business with these and they built careers out of these items, and then it comes a time where the conversation is opened up 100 years later, and we're trying to have a conversation as to whether, should we actually now return them back to the British people? Like, would that even make any sense to you guys? Like, anywho, ponder on that as I ponder on it as well, and then we'll talk more. But for now, let me play this video so that we can all be on the same page on this amazing conversation that Al Jazeera posted. And I was like, yeah, we need to talk about this.
Stolen African art be returned. 3 institutions in the UK and France are giving back artifacts, but some say the objects should remain in European museums. So, who's right? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Mohammed Jamjoum. European institutions like the British Museum and the Louvre are home to some of the world's finest art. But some of the treasures on display were stolen during colonial times. Experts believe up to 90% of African cultural artifacts were taken from the continent. This week, 3 European institutions gave back items stolen more than a century ago from Nigeria and Benin. Campaigners who fought for years to return those objects hope it's just the start. But others believe the artifact should remain in Europe. We'll bring in our guests in a moment. First, this report from Ahmed Idris in Nigeria's capital, Abuja.
After nearly 125 years in foreign lands, this stolen bronze statue depicting the head of the king of Nigeria's ancient Benin kingdom is finally on its way home. For more than a century, its beauty and craft was looked at and appreciated by a privileged few. It has taken campaigners and communities from where it was looted decades to get back this object of immense religious and cultural significance. On Wednesday, the University of Cambridge became the first institution to return such an artifact.
We're all thrilled at seeing this day arrive, when the bronze is finally returning home. But we're also painfully aware of having deprived its rightful owners for so long of its presence, and we offer our heartfelt apologies for this historic wrong.
Also in Paris, President Emmanuel Macron led a ceremony to return a set of 26 pieces of artifacts stolen from France's former colony, Benin, in 1892.
La France ne pouvait pas rester passive.
France had to act given the fact that 95% of the African material heritage is said to be outside of Africa. All young people need to take possession of their history to better build their future. There was no reason to condemn the African youth to be denied access to its own history.
Experts say the events of the past few days are significant.
There's some sort of potential now through these actions for some truth-telling, for even some reconciliation and for returns.
It's a heavy conversation, I'm going to be honest. To unpack this conversation, let's start from the point where the apology was made by Madame Veronique, the chairman, the chairlady she's the chairlady for what? Let me see. Chairwoman, Legacy of Slave Inquiry. Okay. It is progress. For me, I say progress, whatever progress it is, small, big, huge, tiny, whatever it is, we appreciate. Thank you for the apology. But I think as the news highlighted, this is a very small portion of a bigger conversation, especially because it's very clear that, the key takeaways that I am seeing here is that there are two types of people. There are those who support the conversation of, these are African artifacts, they should go back to Africa. And then there are those who are like, no, they should just remain in Europe. This is part of history. Okay. If you if you're one of those who is actually saying, no, they should just remain here, help me understand. Chimamanda is just amazing, and I love her work, especially in the recent conference she had in Germany. And I watched, before doing this video yesterday night, I really watched that speech over and over again. And there were key things that stood out for me. For instance, when we talk about the significance of the items, one of the key things that she had said in that speech is that these objects are documents. Many historians say, African history was never documented. Oh yeah, it was. It was absolutely documented. But guess what? If we're talking about 95% of these artifacts are in Western museums, how are we going to tell the story? Because we are missing pieces about ourselves. So yes, the history has been well documented. It is very fragmented right now, because it's like you have a puzzle box and all the pieces are scattered. So you cannot see the picture clearly, neither can you tell the story. But when you put all these puzzle pieces together, these puzzle pieces, and we're talking about these objects, these objects that represent metaphors, of deep culture. They carry, that was one of the things. They carry deep cultural messages. Let me give you a realistic example of what I'm talking about. Okay. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I am a Duruma. So I am a Duruma by tribe. I come from a community in the coastal region of Kenya called the Mijikenda. It's called Mijikenda because Miji, it means like these tribes, like these villages, that carry specific tribes. And there were specifically 9 because Kenda means 9. So when they are put together because they are somewhat closely interrelated, then they become Mijikenda. Yeah. So within the Mijikenda community, we have objects that are called Vigango. Okay. So Vigango tell, and this is to back the story of why these objects are not just objects. They are documents. They are metaphors. They are spiritual objects, So these Vigangos in the Mijikenda community, they tell a specific story, or they signify, number one, the dead. The highest elders. Think of it as your queen in your England monarchy, in your British monarchy. Think of it that way, that when they die in the modern day world, people erect a tombstone. Correct? Okay. When you erect a tombstone, you go to that tombstone sometimes to have a chit chat to the dead and be like, Mom, today something happened. I really miss you. You see this even in movies. So this is not Western civilization. Neither is it like something new that is happening today. We did this and we still do this. That we, instead of erecting a tombstone, we erected a kigango. And this kigango was carved specifically to showcase the beauty, to tell a story about this specific elder who was high up in the ranks, majestic, royal, filled with so much knowledge and wisdom, to tell a story about this elder, but also to represent his spirit that typically we would go and consult. So in the modern day world, especially in Christianity, in Islam, you talk about acknowledging life after death. We do that, and we did that for thousands and thousands of years way back. We recognized that even before Christianity came to us. We recognized that already, that there is the life of the unborn, of the born, and the dead. And that's why the Kigango was erected. So it's not like these ideologies came to teach us something new. We already had this. So if you're saying that you're keeping this, then you're denying us a puzzle piece, a really crucial puzzle piece that tells all the story, that tells a complete story. Because many youths like me who are millennials, many Gen Zs, people look at African religion and they shun and they don't want to get involved in it because they don't fully understand it. But how can you tell a story when you don't have your Kigango? And your Kigango is behind a glass door in a museum. How are you going to rebuild your culture with that? So it is important for us to think of these items and have deeper conversations, especially around what is it that we're really trying to achieve, with saying I don't think they should go back to Africa. I think these items should stay in Europe and in America. What purpose does it serve? Help me understand. I think the main challenge in pushing this conversation forward is this situation where people have built lifetime careers. People have profited out of this. So now it is these same people we have to go and talk to, and say, it is time for us to get our artifacts back. And for people who are saying, no, Africa doesn't have the resources to take care of these items, they are of great cultural value and humanity, whatnot. Okay, I hear you. Let's talk about it, And one thing that I was that I want to pick an example from the conversation, or rather from the presentation from Chimamanda, is that she gave a brilliant answer to that, and I fully agree. Okay, the first thing is, let's use the modern standard of life and say, when someone steals something, they're held accountable, right? There is the law, the rule of law. This rule of law is acknowledged internationally, as we are talking about globalization, right? Okay, fine. Now, in this rule of law is that if you steal this cup, right, and it is mine, you ought to bring it back. You don't get to justify and say, well, I stole it and I shouldn't take it back. You know what? She's not going to be able to take care of it. She's not going to be. What if she breaks the cup? And Chimamanda gave a beautiful story of a Nigerian writer. I believe it was a Nigerian writer who gave an example of arapa. Arapa is an equivalent of a leso. Well, the material looks different, but it's an equivalent of a leso in the Mijikenda community and in the Kenyan community, many in Tanzania, many East Africa, many would understand it. So arapa, and the example was, if someone steals your rapa, yeah, it is still yours, right? Okay. But imagine they say, oh, I'm not going to give you your wrapper because you know what? What if you're not able to, they're not going to be able to wash it. It is going to fade so fast, they cannot take care of this wrapper. So I should keep this wrapper, and you stole it. Guess what? If you're going by the common standards now, the globalization and this and whatnot and all this world that we're in, we say, if you've stolen something, you take it back. You take it back to the owner, right? That is how it is, because it is rightfully theirs. Whether they take care of it, whether they destroy it, it is theirs. You know what we say back home? It is their cassava. They can boil it, they can roast it, they can fry it, whichever way. It is theirs. It is still theirs. It is still our artifacts, So let's not. And the idea around power is something that we need to talk about. It is more about truly, referencing from Chimamanda's speech. I agree. It is about power. It is about who gets to control the narrative and the conversation. What is it that many people are scared about Africans rebuilding? Because yes, we can have a global village. Yes, we can say that we are interconnected and more interdependent than ever. But it should never take away from the fact that I am a Duruma, that I am a Mwatsangari, that I am a Mijikenda. It means something to me. It says something about my sense of being, And so if you're denying me that, but you have the right to celebrate yours, then what are you saying? then what are you saying? So there's a deeper conversation to be had here. But we as African youths also have a responsibility to start going back to our culture. If you as a human being, you lose close to 95% of yourself, then what are you? Ain't you just a shell of something? Surely, let's be honest. Ain't you just a shell of something? In fact, let me address one critical thing in that video that was raised. You see the Benin Bronze, the Benin Bronze statue depicting the head of a Benin king in Nigeria. I know there is Benin Republic, but I'm talking about Benin, the people of Benin City in Nigeria. So if you look at that, that specific portion of the video, you notice this Benin kingdom is still in existence today. In fact, the new king of Benin was my Duruma tongue is so heavy. The coronation of the Benin king was done in 2016. And let me just show you a video of it. Let me play this clip so that you can see the ads. Let me just play this clip for you so that you can see the coronation of the Benin king. And it is just striking the way the king is dressed. Looks exactly like that artifact that was just returned. It's been 125 years. It's now that this artifact is being returned. Most of our elders are growing old. So are we going to wait for another 100 years to get the next artifact? Like, what good is that going to do us? Surely. What good is that going to do us? Let me just first play this video so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. Okay, let's hit it.
Thousands of people gathered to witness the coronation of the new king of the Benin people in southern Nigeria. The coronation of Oba Ewari II carries on a royal tradition that has endured from around the 13th century until the British invasion hundreds of years later.
Today is very, very important for Benin, all the old Benin citizens. And today we want to crown our Oba. Today is the coronation.
The ancient Benin kingdom was famous for its vast wealth, sophisticated urban design, and intricate bronzes. Its ruler, the Oba, does not wield any official powers in Nigeria, but has a great deal of influence. The title is passed down from father to firstborn son. The new king takes over from his father, who died earlier this year.
We expect glory, long lives, prosperity, and development, and heart desire.
The coronation was graced by Nigeria's Vice President Yemi Oshibanjo and business tycoon Aliko Dangote and a host of dignitaries. 4 major traditional rulers also witnessed the ceremony.
Okay, so guys, as you can see, it is a real kingdom. I mean, I'm not joking about this stuff. There's no making out this stuff. It is a real kingdom that exists till today. So why are we still debating about whether the things should go back? Surely, isn't that disrespectful? You can clearly see that the king who is being coronated here, that the attire in fact resembles pretty much that artifact. So you know, I had started to talk about this issue of it's been 125 years that it has taken for that statue to go back. And I had talked about the apology, and I said it is a nice start, but the apology will not fix things. We need to start acting. we need to start acting now, because as more and more globalization comes and more of this monolithic culture is coming, we are going to be in a situation where we don't fully, we as Africans, know who we are anymore, because the older generation is getting older. As you get older, clearly you don't remember things as you used to back when you're young and like a spring chicken, or back when you're young and very energetic. Let me not say a spring chicken, but back when you are very young, and it's really worrisome when you think of, oh, if this generation, the older generation, passes by and we don't have a good amount of the objects, we've not been able to retell stories, redocument them, then it's going to be really difficult. We cannot fully depend on what has been documented by the West telling stories to us now. Look, I appreciate what has been done, but we cannot rely on that. Why am I saying this? Because any African will agree, and who really understands culture deeply, is that when the West, people who have studied the objects and the quote unquote call themselves experts, okay, you can be an expert all you want, but you will never get to the level of and fully understanding how to interact with the object, to be one with the object, to use the object in your day-to-day life. And that is something that is called it is called experience. It is like the way when you go to a job and they say, well, yes, you have the papers, but you don't have the experience. It's almost like that, because something powerful happens when you have the object, you have the older generation, you have the new generation, and you're interacting with it. You remember that thing that I said about putting the puzzle pieces together? That is what we need. We can tell our own stories. We can document our own, all this. But we need the pieces, and we need them urgently, because we can't wait for another 125 years, for another century. It is not feasible. This situation is dire. There is an emergency on our hands. It is really vital and it is really important. Because now we've gotten to if you say, oh, globalization 4.0, it's leading to the fact that people are now doing this transcultural thing, what TikTok has now unleashed, people saying, oh, I don't like the way I'm looking, I'm going to change everything and I'm going to say that I am from this ethnicity, no, this ethnicity, and now I am, like the guy who said he was Korean. I was just like, surely. Anyway, I'll not even comment any further on that. And I was like, I just don't understand this. But anywho, it is not my cassava, like I said, it is not my cassava. It is not my cassava for me to chew, to boil, to roast, whatever. It is their cassava. But I just know that is not the kind of a cassava I want for myself and my people. Anyone who understands what I'm talking about when I talk about the cassava will understand. But the situation has become an emergency. We need to act now. It is important that we get solutions fast, And the only way we're going to get solutions fast is if we are working together. We need to stop this thing of asking questions, of some weird questions like, should they really go back? Come on. I think we're way past that now. Okay. We need to ask ourselves, are we willing to share? Are we willing to share the resources of all the research? You guys have made beautiful careers. You've made money out of this. Are you willing to share that? Okay. you guys are still debating on whether they should return. Returning artifacts cost money as well. Are you willing to share on that? I would love to have those conversations. I would love for people to start asking. I am willing to share, to bring back these things. How do I get in touch with people? How do I get in touch with the community? Let's have these conversations. Let's start acting. We cannot afford at this point in time to just get stuck at this point where we're asking ourselves, yeah, but do they really belong? They belong, please. They belong in Africa. Yes, they do. Pretty much. They are African artifacts. Anywho, I rest my case, but I think it's really important we acknowledge that this is an active conversation. We are still a people that live out our culture. We are not just some blanket people who are just part of the universe and we don't know ourselves. Surely it is not the truth. It is not. We are very much ingrained in culture. We are very much claiming the culture. We are finding ways to evolve it and celebrate it and make it more beautiful and make it better. But it is very, very difficult to do that if we're missing our puzzle pieces. Please join the discussion. Join the discussion and come and do good work. I rest my case. Yeah. It is what it is today. Ooh, I love it. Okay, see you guys.